attack, are you?
Welcome to the Purple People Podcast, everyone. Kyle West starting off with the jokes right before the live button comes on. Man.
Hey, I do what I can.
I'm sitting at the computer asking right before the little live sign is on. It's like, why am I winded? Adam Carlson's here too, man. How you doing?
How's it going, guys? I'm just, hanging out in my number 5 jersey.
Oh, hey, weird. I think I'm in a 5, and so is Kyle.
I think I also have a number 5 jersey on.
We should have named this episode 2 Teddys and a Cluey, but this is episode number 291 of the Purple People Podcast, For Whom the Bell Tolls, which I see what you did there. Very awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. We have we got some transactions to talk about as far as picks. We're going to talk about quarterback news. We're going to go through a list of top players, and then we're going to go through a list of our own top players. So
we got some Hall of Fame news coming up. You would think that eventually we're going to run out of topics, but that never seems to happen.
Oh, it'll happen eventually. Don't worry. We'll be talking about a Vikings player who found some gum on the sidewalk and put it in the trash can. It's going to be top news.
You got to change that on the Viking age to something about saves the environment so you can get a lot of clicks, man.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going to turn that into something special. But we're
Harrison Smith saves the environment.
Yes. The whole team is going green now from last week. All right, we're starting this off awful this week. All right, let's keep going. Quick hit. We love quick hits, so let's jump into them. The Minnesota Vikings have been awarded 2 compensatory picks. They are both 6th-round picks based on their transactions and free agency last season. Let me pull up our chat here because I read Tremaine Brock's name at the end of that, and I want to know what the hell for.
Tremaine Brock was one of the factors that the Vikings traded for him. So acquiring him cost the Vikings when they were weighing against getting compensatory picks.
There you go. Adam Carlson coming in to save my rear end because I'm prepared. I appreciate that. So that's pretty cool. I would hope to see that Slick Rick comes in and tries to turn those into another 4th or something like that. But we found...
Oh, he will. He will. There is no way the Vikings are going to end with all those 6th-round picks.
The good news is that starting last year was the first year that compensatory picks could be traded. So good to go. Go for it, buddy.
That is good news. And while we're on the subject, I'll just run through these really quick for you guys because we didn't have a lot starting out. We only had 5 starting out this year, but we now have 7. So we have round 1, 2, 3, 5, and then 3 6th-round picks. So I would like to see us jump in the 4th round where there's a huge gap where we can find someone like a Stephon Diggs like before. That would be pretty
good
cool.
with those 4th-round picks. So, yeah, he'll find a way to do it.
Moving right along, we have Randy Moss, who will be inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame this season, and he has chosen his son, Thaddeus Moss. Now, Thaddeus is a tight end for Louisiana State University, and he is 6'3" and 247 pounds. Holy crap.
It's a big old boy.
Oh, just like his dad. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool to have his son come do that.
One thing I was really surprised about this is the announcement came at midnight today. And it was put out by, the Pro Football Hall of Fame on their official Twitter account.
Mm-hmm.
And, they've got like a kind of exclusive thing where they get the chance to announce it. Well, when I was doing all my research for writing articles today, I realized that no other media outlet has picked this up yet. Like, why hasn't anybody written this? I thought this was a cool piece of news.
It's a really cool piece of news. I was curious to see who was going to induct him. I think it's fun the way that the players can pick who's going to induct them into the Hall of Fame. It's really nice they get that honor. I had kind of thought that maybe he would pick like Chris Carter or maybe even a Patriot.
I was wondering if he was going to pick Sid Davey.
Oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool. But I also understand why he wants his son to do it.
You can't go wrong with family.
No, definitely. That's really fun. Can you imagine if he'd had Bill Belichick up there? That actually would have been pretty cool.
It's like they say on Mr. Deeds, family, safe. No Adam Sandler movie fans in here. All right, never mind. Let's keep rolling.
I'm an Adam Sandler fan, but it's been years since I've seen Mr. Deeds.
I can't tell you that I've seen Mr. Deeds. I don't know. There's very select Adam Sandler movies that I enjoy.
Mr. Deeds is worth it.
Was that the one where Steve Buscemi played the homeless guy?
That's the one where he played the guy in the woods with the crossed eyes.
Yeah, that was a good part. Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, I'm gonna move these quick hits around so we can do the last part all together. But shocking news here, breaking news on the Purple People podcast. Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman will speak to the media at the NFL Combine.
Yeah, they like talking, but they also like talking without saying things. And it's always going to be, we need to address our needs. We're going to do it best we can. The quarterback situation, we're going to, take everything into consideration moving forward. Find the guy. All the quotes that are out there are going to be there. We're going to be hearing it all again. It's going to be the same song and dance we've heard a lot of times.
They're going to be asked about the quarterback. They're going to say they haven't ruled anything out yet and that all options are on the table.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're already sick about talking about the quarterback. I watched the video with the ever so dry and boring Mike Wobschall again. And
poor Wobbie.
That's right. I definitely did that. Yeah, I watched it. He was talking to Rick Spielman, and it was kind of an impromptu, kind of a little unprofessional from Wobbie States because he's always in the studio. But he did say, the studio is getting ready to go. But he was talking to Rick Spielman about it. And you could just kind of tell in Rick Spielman's voice how perturbed he was of having to answer this question because they're not going to give anything away. They're trained and conditioned not to give answers away, and he's not going to do it and put it out there before the Vikings are going to go out and make a selection. So that's something we're going to talk about here on the show a lot too. So you guys get ready because we're going to have quarterback news until a quarterback is chosen. And we're going to start here tonight as well.
It's true.
So moving to these other two quick hits before we get into some cool little rankings. TCO Performance Center receives permits for fans to tailgate, complete liquor license, and burn permits.
Ooh.
Burn permits.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty
cool. The hell's a burn permit?
They can have flames out in the parking lot so they can do their barbecues and maybe even have a little bonfire while they're tailgating. Gotcha. It's one of the most Minnesota things I've ever heard.
I like it.
That sounds like fun. The way it's worded, burn permit, sounds like you could just start a fire in the parking lot. But
it's pretty much that, yeah, as long as it's controlled and there's an adult by it.
Yeah, that's awesome. With the alcohol. So, hey, it's a great combination.
Right? But yeah, this is going to come in handy a lot. We're going to see some training camp tailgating taking place probably. It's going to be great if they do the draft day events. If they do a draft day event, it could be just an enormously great time, and I'm looking forward to all that.
Oh, God, I didn't even think of that. That's awesome, man. I've been going to training camp for a number of years, and it sucks when you got to get up in line, for it's autograph day, and you want to get Adrian Peterson. And so you get in line at 6 o'clock in the morning for it to open up at 11. That would be fantastic if you could tailgate while that's going on.
Right.
That's pretty sweet.
Oh, man, that would be fun. That would be hella fun,
man. When I read
man.
burn permit, I was thinking about the snow for some reason. I was like, is it really that cold that you guys need to start burning trash cans out there? But I didn't even think about grilling out and stuff. Oh, man.
That's also a keen observation.
I am here to contribute nothing, guys. Thank you for letting me do that for so many weeks in a row.
You're here to look pretty and read the notes.
Yeah. I'm going to pull my shirt down just a little bit so we can get some more clicks. All right. Practice facility at Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center in Eagan is complete for the Minnesota Vikings. Now team gear and office equipment will begin to be moved in. So this has to be what I was alluding to, talking with Mike Wobschall interviewing Rick Spielman the other day. There were some boxes in the background. It was really random and kind of weird, but that's pretty
Only one thing has not been moved out of the locker room. You guys know what it is?
Is that Corey Stringer's locker?
It is. That's the last thing remaining.
That's amazing.
What are they going to do? Are they going to move that to the new?
I believe they are going to move it into the new facility.
Wow. That's powerful.
But I haven't had confirmation on that, but I assume that's what they're doing.
They should.
That's very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Man. It's kind of a dark and somber thing, but man, it's pretty cool that they'll recognize it, man. That's good. That's very classy by the organization. Very
Absolutely.
We'll get
Did you see the plaque in Mankato for him, Adam?
I did. I thought that was awesome.
Yep.
We'll keep you guys updated to see if that actually, whenever they confirm that that's been moved. So now that we've kind of run through all of these, let's talk about Pro Football Focus's top 101 players of 2017. Now, I like this list a lot more than the NFL's top 100 every year because players kind of like I remember Peyton Manning the year he took a year off because he had neck surgery and he was like number 8. And it's like, what? He didn't play the whole year.
Right.
And, the year Adrian Peterson got in trouble for, the stuff with his son, he only played 2 games for us the entire season and he was like top 10. And it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's based on your performance of that year. And then, you'll hear a lot of guys in the NFL top 100 players for that season. They'll talk about, well, he's just been so consistent over all these years. No, we're talking about this year, man. I don't understand this. Like,
when it says of the year, we're talking about that year.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have a flash in the pan. Adam, you guys would know this one. Who was that guy, the running back for Cleveland, who was on Madden for 1 year because he had 1 year and 1 year only?
Oh, Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis. I couldn't think of his name to save my life. You have a guy like that. He deserves.
I don't know why I remember it.
Like the only Browns player to ever be on the cover of Madden. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. But when you have a season like that guy had, and he was just absolutely incredible for 1 year, I expect him to be high on that list and then probably never to return. Not, hey, man, he's been so good for the last 5 years, but he sucked this year. But we'll throw him in at number 12 because we like him. So that's why I really like Pro Football Focus because they take it based on what you did performance-wise. And it's a little more stat-based. But 5 Minnesota Vikings made this list.
Which is crazy considering there's 5 Vikings on a 101 list. That means that, like, I don't know, the way to think of this is with so many players coming from the Vikings, there's got to be teams out there that maybe have 1 or 2 players on the list, and that's ridiculous.
Or none.
We need to figure out a way on what percentage that we could take up on this. And I could divide, 5 and 101, but I want to divvy it up among the teams because you're right. You have 11 on offense, 11 on defense, punter, kicker. So we'll take 24 there. And then you multiply that by 32 of all. How many numbers of that? And we have 5 out of the top 101. That's pretty crazy.
It is. It's insane to think about.
We had a pretty damn good roster last season.
Yeah, we did.
Rick Spielman, hats off to Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer for finding an amazing collection of talent.
So true.
And I'm looking at all these guys on here now. They're all still in their prime. They're not at the very edge. Like the last year we had Jared Allen, and then he parted ways. You could kind of see that he was going to start to decline. All these guys are right in their prime or haven't hit their prime yet. So we'll jump into this list. And the best thing that I was talking about before with the guys before we actually started recording was 77 and 78 is a duo that everybody loves, and everybody is finally. I would be willing to say, what about you guys? These are household names now going across the NFL. I think they've had 2 solid seasons where most everyone could say, "Oh man, I know those guys are really good." It's Adam Thielen is ranked number 78, and then Stephon Diggs at 77.
I still don't know if Thielen gets the national attention that he really deserves. Diggs, of course, has the spotlight after the miracle, but it's Thielen probably has absolutely no issue whatsoever to continue grinding and establishing himself and working towards being the best he can be. That's what he does. That's who he is.
He's got that Midwest work ethic, like a Chad Greenway. I have no reason to believe that he will ever stop working. He's just going to continually try to grind it out and get better. I agree with you on that one, Adam.
So
it's cool to see those 2 wide receivers right there, right next to each other.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's crazy.
Hell of a combination.
Adam Thielen has gotten over 2,000 yards combined in the last 2 seasons. Stephon Diggs is a little behind him. Had a little injuries last year, but he's right up there with the numbers. And of course, like Adam mentioned, he had the play of probably his career this year, so everyone's going to know him. But let's read you a little bit of stuff that the Pro Football Focus said about these guys. For Adam Thielen, ranked at 78 out of 101. Thielen had a top 5 contested catch radius. I'm sorry, let me start that over. Had a top 5 contested catch rate and was tied for the second best production rate in the slot. Thielen gained 2.11 yards per route run, trailing only Pittsburgh's Juju Smith-Schuster. That guy's pretty freaking fast. So
it's true.
It's a pretty good spot to be in. Shout out to Adam.
Fun name to say too. Juju. Juju Smith. Juju.
Up next was Stephon Diggs, 77 out of 101. Stephon Diggs was remarkable overall this season. He led the NFL in contested catch rate at 64.9%, despite being a relatively small in stature receiver, and was extremely productive when he was healthy and on the field. So
I don't see what size really has to do with it, but I suppose.
I don't think that necessarily he's undersized. He's just not the prototype that we always look for a Julio Jones, or everybody would salivate at a Calvin Johnson.
How tall is Diggs?
Let's Google it right now. I'll get right on that.
6'1". I don't know. I know he's about close to my height.
6'0", right there. Adam Thielen is listed at 6'3". I don't know if I believe that.
Because in my photo standing next to him, we're pretty much head to head.
Mm-hmm. What do you say? What do you say Thielen was?
It says here, I'm just on Google.
6'3"?
I typed in Stephon Diggs' height. I butchered the spelling because I didn't look at my keyboard.
Yeah, I think Thielen's 6'2", 6'3", around there.
Yeah, it says Thielen is 6'3" and Diggs is 6 foot. So maybe slightly smaller, but I don't really count that because a guy like Antonio Brown just came and took the league by storm. So I don't think that really has to do with anything. And we've seen, especially like my favorite play, like we talked about a couple weeks on the show, against Tampa Bay. I mean, it doesn't matter how small you are. Diggs has ups, so doesn't really affect the ranking there for me. But nonetheless, 64.9% contested catch rate. That's incredible. I think I don't know when have we had a guy like that last? Sidney Rice, maybe.
Only if Brett Favre's thrown to him.
Yeah, that's true. So down in the 50s, we have a pair of defensive.
We've got other guys that have been worthless. And they're like Devin Aromashadu and whatnot, but they've never accomplished anything. But I mean, they've tried to bring in taller receivers.
It's true. They have.
Yeah.
Michael James.
Like Emmanuel Arsenault, remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Ooh, and we're gonna turn back time. We're gonna turn one of those shows back where we just start talking about random people who never did anything for us. All right. So in the 50s, like I was mentioning, we have a pair of defenders. At 55, Linval Joseph finally got some credit. Linval Joseph backed up his impressive 2016 campaign with another strong season. He ended 2017 with an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 88.7, giving him an average of 88.1 over the last 3 seasons. That's pretty.
That right there is consistency of a hungry man.
Big Goon. Big Goon's always hungry, especially with all those fish we saw in that photo the other day.
Lots of fish.
Yeah, he's an absolute monster. An absolute monster. He's such a beast.
You know what? I'm willing to put it out there, too. Never met the guy in my life, and I'm watching him just swallow people up on the field and just spit them out. And I'm willing to bet he's probably the biggest teddy bear on the team. I would take a bet on him.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
It's a good chance of it.
Number 51, we have Everson Griffin. He notched 61 total pressures over the regular season, adding another 5 in the playoffs across 2 games. This was the best pass rushing season of his NFL career, while his run defense remained above average. And you really can't ask him to do much more.
No.
You could.
Yeah.
Do more, Everson. We haven't won the Super Bowl. Do more.
Do more. I need you to be the backup kicker next.
I would like him to finish the season a little stronger. He did have that nice streak where he had when he starts the season 6 games in a row or 8 games in a row with a sack, or was it right?
Smack.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I would agree with you. That's where I was going with that. So not a bad season for Everson, though. But the highlight and the gem of this team, and we can talk about the Minneapolis Miracle and Case Keenum stepping in, but best player on the Vikings team this year was
Laquan Treadwell.
Yes. Tremaine Brock and Laquan Treadwell.
Pro Football Focus.
If you throw a ball towards Tremaine Brock and Laquan Treadwell, how far incomplete does it go? Because neither one of them are catching it.
Oh.
Who makes that? Who makes that play? Laquan Treadwell or
the ground, because it stops the ball because neither one of them catch it.
God,
yeah,
we're terrible tonight.
I am. Thank you. Harrison Smith, ranked number 3 out of 101 top players in 2017. The winner of Pro Football Focus's Dwight Stevenson Award for the best player in the regular season, regardless of position, which is stupid to me because if he won the Pro Football Focus Award for the best player in the regular season, he should be number 1 on your list.
The reason why he's not number 1 is because his score fell dramatically for the NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's fine. That's very fair.
Like he forgot how to play football.
The whole defense, yeah. Kind of just
like let's have fun with this because me and Mr. Smith know, but Mr. West does not. So who do you think are the 2 players who were above him?
I got them right here. They're
fucking holding information from me. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why we went here, because I need to see this happen. Gotta put the pressure on you.
We're talking league wide.
League-wide, regardless of position, who is 1 and 2 above Harrison Smith? Yeah, I'll give you a hint. One is offensive and one is defensive.
I have no idea. Aaron Donald in the chat. I'm going with that one.
You're getting answers from the chat. That's not cool, man.
You betcha. Hey, that was my phone a friend.
The Stugotz is strong with Kyle West. I love it.
Who's the other one?
And then you still go to answer the other one.
Well, we can give you this one. Who was the MVP this year, sir?
God, I don't know.
Tom Brady.
I quit paying attention after the Vikings got eliminated. I was pissed off.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah.
Yep.
So great company. I mean, Aaron Donald's amazing. There's no way around that. And Tom Brady is the GOAT.
I think the Vikings pass on Aaron Donald too. Like that. We've whiffed on some players, but we've also we've done all right since.
But yeah, it's awesome to see the Vikings get a lot of love from pro football folks. And speaking of love, I want to give some love out because we got a lot of folks here in the chat. We've got Eric Spencer hanging out with us. We got Yang Yaj here with us. Let's see, who else do we got here? We've got Sergio Moreno, Scott Schwab hanging out, and along with some others. Since I see that number doesn't accurately represent the number of people who are chatting, so we got some lurkers, but lurking's okay. If you just like to watch, that's fine.
We got Eric all the way up in the top was with us earlier on. Always like talking with Eric.
For sure, and I hate to jump back to the beginning, but I don't believe we did the episode number and title, did we?
We did.
We did.
I did. I mentioned it. It's 291 for whom the bell tolls, which is funny because I can talk about it now. I am now in a Metallica tribute band, which I thought was really funny. I'm not sure if you guys meant to put that in there for me, but I did mention that.
And also, Metallica has revealed that they are making a run through Minneapolis again. And Mr. West said, next time Metallica comes through Minneapolis, I'm going. So,
Kyle, guess what? They're coming to El Paso, and I got really excited because it said February 20-something, and I was like, oh, my God, they're going to be here tomorrow, and it's 2019. So I felt like an idiot, but they're making another tour next year. So, yeah, they're going to be swinging around to a lot of different places. It looks like they might be going – I'm sure they were in Minneapolis not too long ago, but I think they're trying to go other places they haven't been yet because they haven't been to El Paso, I can tell you that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're doing two shows in Wisconsin, too, which kind of surprised me, but I was like, hey, why not?
Like where?
I don't remember, but I know that I saw two in Wisconsin, and I kind of was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, the people in Wisconsin, they got to go listen to that to get out their aggression from living in Wisconsin. So thank you. You're doing a public service. All right, so the main topic of this show this week, we're going to talk about quarterbacks because why not? And I, joking and in jest made all these Kirk Cousins references, and now it looks like it might actually happen.
It's your fault. It's all your fault.
Crazy. I didn't think we were going to.
He wanted this.
Yeah, you got him going about it. It's all you.
All right, so
Spielman was listening to this show.
Yeah,
Rick was listening, and he was like, "This is what they want." So
you hear what this kid's saying? This kid don't ever do anything that he's talking about. He's an idiot. No, but let's talk about before we get to Kirk Cousins. Let's talk about Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum because this was the big news. Sure. This actually went around on the NFL's social media accounts, and it got a lot of people talking because if Teddy doesn't come back to Minnesota, he's still very, very young. And assuming that he's rehabbed fully and he can start playing back at the level he was, because that's a big question mark, like we all want to know. But we didn't find out last year because Case was on a roll, and he could go somewhere else. I strongly believe the place like the Arizona Cardinals will take a chance on him.
Absolutely.
They don't have a quarterback on their roster right now.
And we all know Teddy Bridgewater doesn't mind having a red bird on the side of his helmet.
That's very, very true. He would be able to throw to the likes of Larry Fitzgerald, and that's the only receiver I know over there. But they do have a pretty decent defense. They've got some good players around them, and I think they just got a new head coach too. So it would be kind of the reset and rebuild in Arizona. But they don't even have a quarterback on their roster right now. And we can go through, the Buffalo Bills, the Denver Broncos, the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns. These are teams that are looking for a quarterback. The New York Giants, but assuming that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to come back. And why do I mention that is because the Vikings will not attempt to toll Teddy Bridgewater's contract, thus making him a free agent heading into the season. It's official.
Yeah,
So,
I don't understand the way that's worded. Did the Vikings, are they just saying they're not challenging the decision, or what does that mean?
let me pull it up on Facebook while you guys fill her in for me, because I want to get to the meat and the potatoes of exactly what this is.
Because at the league meeting, they made the decision that his contract would not be told. So I don't know where the Vikings saying they're not going to would fit into anything. Or is this just some media spin on it, or what is this?
That's the media spin on it. Yeah. Yep.
Because, yeah, I assume the Vikings won't challenge a decision, because if they did, they would have a disgruntled quarterback, and we all saw how that worked out with Kirk Cousins in Washington.
Mm-hmm. It worked out great because he's going to be the new quarterback of the Vikings, guys.
Really quick, I think there's a lot of people that are talking about maybe this means that Teddy is not going to be coming back to the Vikings. I think all that it really means is that they're just not going to try to toll his contract over. I don't think that this stalls any kind of like contract negotiations, right? Like, I don't think that this means they're not interested in Teddy.
Oh, I'm sure negotiations are going to keep happening. It's a long time before these players actually become free agents.
All right.
Actually, what is it? I don't remember. Is it the 14th, something like that? I don't remember.
Yeah, the year starts around. It starts around next weekend or the week after, because of it's my birthday next Saturday, so it's right around that time. I think it's a couple days after. But I'm on NFL.com. It said Teddy Bridgewater is expected to become a free agent. So I'm going to read through this as quickly as I can. It's not too lengthy. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported Tuesday that Bridgewater is expected to become a free agent, as Minnesota is not planning to assert that their 2014 first-round picks 4-year deal tolls.
Okay, so they're not challenging it. Gotcha.
That's it. So, yeah, we can talk about that, and we'll go right along to the Case Keenum news as well, because the Vikings will not use the franchise tag on Case Keenum, allowing him to test free agency. So I think it was what we've all been predicting, which wasn't too hard to look at if you use common sense. I don't think Sam Bradford's coming back because of his health and his price tag. If he was healthy, then sure, I think we would pay for him. But we were pretty much talking about the Keenum and the Bridgewater show. But it looks like both of them are going to get a chance to, if they want to, along with, and this is on the podcast page too, not quarterback news, along with Jerick McKinnon, because they're going to let him run around. And then they haven't had any commitment to him either, which we posted a video of the other day. But there's going to be some notable Minnesota Vikings that are going to be able to test free agency. And unfortunately, the more that we have that are going to be able to test, the more they're likely that more numbers of them are going to go. But speaking to the quarterbacks, I don't know, man. I could see a team like Buffalo taking a flyer on Case Keenum. I could see.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. I don't know that Denver's too high on him, but I know that they were interested. Arizona and Teddy Bridgewater makes a lot of sense to me because he's so young and you have that question mark. And if he can prove to them that he's healthy and he can sling the ball and still be mobile like he was, I don't know why they wouldn't jump all over that. But this transitioned into the last bullet that we have here, and I have it from Mike Garafolo. He did a big piece on it where he was just super adamant about the sources, multiple sources from the Vikings, that they are going to make a hard push for Kirk Cousins. Don't count them out of the race because they are going to pursue him. Not saying that we are going to land him, but they are going to make a hard push. And in our bullets here, Gil Brandt reported that there's mutual interest between the Vikings and Kirk Cousins. He also said that he believed the Vikings are the team where Cousins will land. A few hours later on Monday, NFL Media's Mike Garafolo, like I said, reported that Minnesota is going to make a strong push to sign the quarterback this offseason. So it all comes down to Kirk Cousins at this point, because we don't have the numbers to match against the Denver and a New York Jet organization. But we do have a better team than both of those, and I don't think there's any debate about that. Not saying anything terrible about the Broncos. They did win the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but they have long since been removed and kind of out of contention with poor quarterback play and some of their pieces moving on to another team. So
there are some reasons why this is absolutely scary, though. If the Vikings do end up letting Keenum and Bridgewater and even Sam Bradford walk in hopes of just landing Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins has already gone on record as saying that he is not going to rush through free agency. He's going to wait. He's going to hear a lot of offers. He's going to be very calculated. So I don't expect him to be one of these guys that has a deal on the table as soon as the new year starts, ready to roll. I firmly believe that he's going to be waiting and taking a look at everything. And if all these other quarterbacks start falling off the table when the Vikings are hoping to grab Cousins, they could be in a situations where if Cousins makes a decision to go somewhere else, they are left with scraps.
Tebow time, baby.
Yeah, Adam,
that's what scares me.
Adam pretty much covered the worst case scenario. You know, we the worst case scenario possible, which would suck. We let our guys test free agency, and then other teams call our bluff. Our guys say, well, the Vikings weren't really committed to me. I'm going to sign with this team because I have guaranteed money and a new opportunity. And then we're left with like, oh, shit, we need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is still out there, but he's like, nah, man, the Jets want to throw the whole neighborhood at me. What you got? And then we can't match it. And then we would be forced in the draft to go with somebody against, you know, not would say against our will. I think a guy like Lamar Jackson would be there, which I wouldn't be opposed to the Vikings getting. But if you had all these guys here in front of you, that would be a poor decision in the management department of not securing a quarterback before, because the Vikings are not in a good spot to where we need to bring in a rookie quarterback. We're in win now mode because we have the team and the coach to do it. And this window, like we've seen with Seattle and Denver and all these other teams, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be open for very long, maybe 2 years at best.
Let's see. We got some fun stuff going on in the chat here. Scott Schwab says the offers are already put out there, but a lot of changes could take place, and that's true. He also reminds us that the Jaguars are out after giving Blake Bortles an extension, which is quite true as well. Yang Yaj says that Denver has less cap than the Vikings, which is a good point, as well as the fact that they are pretty high on Keenum, which is pretty interesting. Meanwhile, I'm getting a little bit of feedback for my comment on scraps, saying that they're not scraps because Kyle Sloter's there.
All right, guys, let me ask you in the chat because I have to hear this. I know you're super high on Kyle Sloter. Is that who's going to take you to the promised land next year? Be honest with me.
Eric Spencer says, I can't help but roll my eyes at each scenario. Bunch of meh in my eyes.
Facts. He's got it figured out. I'm not shitting on Kyle Sloter by any means. I like his story, and like I said last week,
he's just an unproven product. I mean, we don't know what he is.
He didn't win the starting job. He didn't win the backup job. I mean, he's just, you know, like Adam said, I don't know what to say with this guy because I don't have anything to go off of besides Denver fans really like him. Well, that's not going to do much for me. So
yeah, Adam, we really liked McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Oh, a kid at a cannon.
Yeah, as well too. So like, I get like you can be a fan and you can just get absolutely enamored with a third string backup quarterback. It can happen.
Oh. So, yeah, like we were saying, the worst case scenario, the Vikings don't security one, other teams outbid us, and then we're left with, holy crap, we don't have a quarterback. And that's going to set us back way farther than for all the stuff that Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer have been doing the last 3 years. That would really set the team back. But I don't see them coming and going in this direction. I think that, you know, they're going to do the rumor mill kind of stuff. I know Jay Gruden is pretty good friends with Mike Zimmer. That's what I've heard on many media outlets. He's going to call and talk to him and ask him, hey, you know, this guy throws a lot of touchdowns and for a lot of yards for you guys. Obviously, I see the record. Why'd you let him go? He's going to talk about him and say, hey, I want to know why he's going to be available. Why'd you go after Alex Smith when you could have had him? And there's nothing really – I don't know. There's nothing really dirt that I can find on Kirk Cousins. He's probably the whitest dude I've ever seen in my entire life and doesn't do anything wrong. So I can't imagine a good reason why Washington was just like, no, I'm not going to commit to him.
Guys, I just thought of the stupidest quarterback situation for the Vikings.
Let's go.
What if they signed to Kirk Cousins and then brought in RG3 as the veteran backup?
Yes. Yes.
That would be something.
That would be great.
That would be amazing.
RG3
I would love that.
Would turn into
much.
Marshawn Lynch and be very thankful because he would be employed again. So that would be fun.
Well, yeah.
But you got to think the Vikings want to have some sort of insurance policy in place. So
right.
I'm thinking that they're going to do their best to either bring back Bridgewater or even if, you know, let Sam Bradford test free agency. And if it comes back as being cold, you know, maybe throw him a little bit of a contract as kind of a placeholder quarterback.
Right.
I could see a lot of this happening.
That's a very interesting point. I would say that I wouldn't think that most teams would go after him just because of the injury history. But I mean, who knows? The NFL is weird. When people need a quarterback, they'll do stupid things to get one. So that's a.
I think Case Keenum is going to get a contract that will be shocking to most fans.
Yes.
Some team is going to ink Case Keenum to a deal that is just going to be phenomenally huge.
Way too much.
Yeah, totally. And I understand in a way why a team would want to do that, because quarterbacks are so difficult to find, so difficult to come by. But I'm also glad that Minnesota is willing to gamble a little bit and see all of their options and see what the best option is for the team and try to land on that instead of locking in on we have to retain Case Keenum.
Right.
So I like seeing them look at all of the options on the table. Your doomsday scenario is frightening, Adam, because that has a real. It really is, man.
Oh, I'm looking at Case Keenum stuff right now. He just turned 30 this month, February the 17th. So he's still relatively young, still in his prime.
He's like my age. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not like I think you're right, Kyle. If some team's going to throw some stuff, there could be a 3 or 4 year deal where they're just like, "Hey, we're just going to commit to you and see what you got for the next couple of years." But I mean, I'm happy for him, whether it's with us or someone else, because this is life-changing. This is life-changing money for him and his wife. And after last season, I know you can factor in Pat Shermer and everyone, but he kind of earned it after last year. So
it's a great story. I love Case Keenum. He seems like a really nice guy. I like him a bit. I wish him well. I just don't want the Vikings to be set back, like what Scott said, with a Brock Osweiler type deal.
Teams these days have no
Keenum.
fear of throwing mountains of money at quarterbacks, multiple draft picks at quarterbacks, because they know how important that position is to fill. And it's going to be just a complete trend where that's going to continue, where the most absurd amounts of things are going to be shoved at players that have no reason being near it. It's going to be amazing.
But Adam, Philly won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and I know that the play of Carson Wentz got them to the Super Bowl, but ultimately it was Nick Foles who got them through that final stretch, that final push, and won it. And is Nick Foles a guy that you would spend $60 million on a contract for? Probably not. So I know that it's important, but it's also, I think, equally as important. You want to have a team, a solid team, and that's what Philadelphia has.
Yeah, that defense is legit.
I think the smartest thing to do in this situation, Kyle, is if you don't want to throw the house, as we said, or the kitchen sink, or whatever freaking verb you want to throw in there, if you don't want to throw this at one guy, what says you can't go out and do the same thing that we have? You have your solid, solidified starter, and then you have a very capable backup, because it's easy to find a backup. And with our talent and our coaches, we can elevate the backups' play, and they can play better than they would in probably 90% of the other teams in the league. So,
who's the veteran backup you were talking about, Adam? The one from the Jets? Josh McCown.
Yeah,
I can see that happening.
Pro Football Talk has been picking up and saying that, I could see the Vikings rolling with Teddy Bridgewater and McCown. I'm like, I said that 2 weeks ago, man.
You better play them our podcast and tell them they owe you interest on that.
No, I'm glad to see other people saying that's a decent idea, because at the time I was just kind of throwing it out there because that's kind of what I would have liked to have seen.
Role of what Rick Spielman has done, you try to bring in the Matt Castle or the who was the one that we had a couple years back. I can't think tonight. The other veteran quarterback, he just retired.
I have no idea. What year frame was this?
Like 2 years ago.
Sean Hill.
Sean Hill. Thank you.
Behind Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah,
right.
Last season where I was praying for God Almighty that Tennessee Titans game that Sean Hill didn't find a way to screw this game up. Yeah, I don't want to go through that shit again. I'm tired of that. I'm over it. I want a solid guy, but we can all say it too. If it's going to be Kirk Cousins, I really don't want us to be strapped to him and not be able to keep our defensive players. Not that I don't have faith in Mike Zimmer to bring in people and coach the shit out of them and make them the better or the best that they can be, but I like what we're doing right now. Obviously, the results have been getting better every year. Even last year when we went 8-8, it was a disaster. So many bad things happened, and we still managed to compete. And then when everyone relatively stayed healthy this year, look where it took us, and look who took us there. You know, I don't want to have to be strapped down to somebody else where it's going to tie us down. We're not going to be able to pay players that we need to keep, but you kind of got to pick your poison here. This is why this makes this so interesting overall. And I said I didn't want to talk about it at the end of the show, and here I am babbling on him for like 5 minutes about it. So,
well, it's a big topic. This is really important. If Rick Spielman messes this up, I firmly believe this is his job. Like, he will lose his job if he messes up the Vikings quarterback future.
It's a big decision. Let's wait and see what he makes.
This could set the franchise back for a couple of years minimum if they mess this up.
I certainly hope not. I don't want to be a part of that rebuilding crap where we get close and then we have to go to the very bottom of the well all the time and climb our way back up. Like
we've seen so many great careers being wasted too while the Vikings just tried to get it figured out. It's been sad.
We just need to get that. You can build around the quarterback. I firmly believe that. So if we end up picking one that can stick with us for 4 or 5 years, I think we have a legitimate shot. So we'll see what that is. But that's the main topic for today. I don't know what the chat was talking about there, but if you guys don't have any more
conversation going on,
if you guys don't have any more quarterback news, got something exciting to do, and we're going to do this for the next 10 weeks. If you guys are ready to jump into that,
I'm ready.
All right, so
go for it.
I decided one night I was doing homework and I was clicking around. And I was like, I want to see what some outlets say are the top 10 Vikings of all time. And I actually went to Bleacher Report. Now, this is Bleacher Report circa 2013, so obviously that changed a little bit. But I like the basis of it. And even without their sort of bias or influence in there, I had a list kind of similar to theirs. But I thought, man, Adam and Kyle would love to do this. I think they really would. So we're going to do our top 10 Minnesota Vikings of all time. And we're going to start this week with number 10. And I'm going to set the show on fire right now. Not really, but I'm going to go with my guy that Adam got a picture autograph for me for. And I'm going with my number 10 best Viking ever is John Randall.
Ooh. Number 10. Oh, wow.
I know. I really wanted to throw him higher, but here's my kind of basis for you guys that are listening in the chat.
I understand favorite doesn't always mean best. I get it, but I'm interested to hear now.
So I wanted to make sure that everybody that I had on this list was a Hall of Famer. It's really hard to tell me that one guy that didn't get selected in the Hall of Fame, even though there are some snubs that haven't been picked yet, which is
like my number 10 choice that's been snubbed for many years.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think I know who you're going with. It's a travesty when they don't get picked, and especially if the same person we're thinking about is because of one specific play. I think that's really stupid over a whole body of work. But
we should just say that mine's Jim Marshall now since we're talking about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's ridiculous, man. But I picked on the basis of I wanted to see the body of work. What did you contribute? Are you among the best for the NFL too? But what did you do for the Vikings while you're here? And I'm looking at John Randall. And from 1990 until 2000, so 11 seasons there, he did this is crazy numbers. 114 sacks. He had 1 defensive interception for a touchdown for 9 yards, I believe it was. And he was just absolutely monstrous. Now, he did spend the last 3 years of his season in Seattle, and he had 23 and a half sacks there. But we don't care about Seattle. We're talking about what he did for the Vikings. But you want to talk about a guy who was undersized, and this story is incredible. I actually posted it to the podcast page if you guys are interested. They did a football life on him, coming from poverty and just everything that he had to endure, being told he was too small, undrafted free agent, and now he's one of the top defensive linemen ever to play the game. So that's my number 10 all time for the Vikings.
And like I was talking about Jim Marshall, team leader. He would get everyone fired up, part of that Purple People Eaters defense. He had the NFL record for consecutive games played, I believe, at 282, and then that was snapped eventually by Brett Favre. Jim Marshall, just amazing that he was able to do what he did for 19 years.
He was very, very close to being 10 on my list. Very, very close.
I mean, I'd love to put him higher, but I understand that not being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame is a little weird, but the Vikings do have a lot of fantastic players that have not gotten the recognition they really deserve, and Jim Marshall is absolutely one of them.
I'll read because I want to piggyback on what you're doing there. No, he's number 11 on this Bleacher Report from 2013. But it says Marshall joined the Vikings in their first season and went on to play for the team for 19 years. He played in all 4 of the Super Bowls and was a stalwart on the defensive line for 2 decades. He played 282 consecutive regular season games. It stood for decades until I think Brett Favre was the one who broke it. Though often overshadowed by his flashier teammates, Marshall outlasted them all. And then the quote here in underline, which is a hyperlink, going to the Hall of Fame snubs. The last thing in there is he should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be.
It's absolute travesty. I'm interested to see how Kyle West defines Chris Cluey as the 10th best Viking ever of all time. Tell us how that happened, man.
Yeah, he's number 11 on my list, actually. So he did not quite make the cut. Although he was a pretty darn good punter when he was with the Vikings. Just needed to shut his mouth about off-field stuff. It was funny to an extent. Got way overboard with him. Anyway, my number 10 player might shock and surprise you too. I'm going to quote Paul Allen and say he is loose. I went with Adrian Peterson as my number 10 Minnesota Viking of all time because he was a phenomenal player for the Minnesota Vikings. I know that we're all still a little salty on how it ended, and it was not a good parting or last couple years, but let's go back and look at how dominant Adrian was for this team. He, for the first 10 years of his career, carried this franchise. There was nothing. I mean, there was defense around him, but I mean, on offense, by and large, there was nothing around Adrian Peterson. He's got 2 of my favorite plays of all time as a Minnesota Viking, where he runs over William Gay on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the middle of just absolutely runs him over. And then there was one of his runs against, was it his rookie year? It might have been his rookie season against the Cleveland Browns, where he runs through the entire team and he stops and he stiff arms a dude and just shoves him to the ground and then keeps going. It is such an amazing run to watch. And then you go back, you look at the 2,000-yard season, was just phenomenal. He is a great player. I don't quite know if he makes the Hall of Fame, but he is Vikings Ring of Honor for sure. He is, he really is, really was a great player for this team.
Yeah, I don't think we can go wrong with any of the choices we made. We can argue that each of them should be higher or lower on our lists. But to get started at number 10, it's hard to argue until we see who we have higher and why. Mm-hmm. So to lay it all down at number 10 right now, I think that we made some really good choices. But we do have people in the chat here talking about how Paul Krause is super underrated. And I got a feeling that we're going to hear his name in coming weeks.
Who is that?
Paul Krause.
Maybe.
Paul Krause. Yep.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Got a feeling we could be hearing his.
This is going to be fun because I feel like we're going to have a lot of the same players, just maybe in a different order. Depending
spoiler alert, the guy you just mentioned, yeah. I do have him higher than 10 on my list, and I won't.
Do you?
I do.
And I do want to welcome one of my personal best friends to the chat. Welcome, Bill Seppinen. Glad to have you in here.
What's up, Bill?
Even though you're a Packer fan, thanks for joining us.
That's all right. We'll take you in the offseason. We know you're a closet Vikings fan if you're in here anyways. Thank you for joining
us. Or for at least supporting us. Thank you very much.
Like it.
But that's all I have for this week. You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Let's read Scott's comment. I think Scott had a really good comment. He said, Adrian Peterson became one of the best in the entire NFL as a Viking. Whether you like it or not, he's a top 10 Viking. He may be 20 in the NFL ever. Yeah, I would agree with that, Scott. I think that I don't know if in the history of the NFL, if he quite cracks top 10 running back. He might be just on the outside of it. Weren't we talking about that with his stats a few weeks ago, Smith?
He needs less than 300 yards, and he'll be in the top 10 rushing of all time. I really hope he finds a suitor and a team this year just for that alone. Okay, after the dust settles, after a while, we know what happened. I'm not going to hold it against him. I'm not going to look away from it, but I want to see the guy reach some milestones, and he is so close to that. So
I mean, he says he's not done.
He thinks he's going to play for another 5 years. Whether or not the NFL is going to have him is another story. But I'm anxious to see that, and I'm anticipating someone giving him a chance.
If he humbles himself and can accept a split role and earn a bigger keep, and that's what's going to have to happen.
Right.
I hope that this season has maybe humbled him a little bit with what happens in New Orleans, and he can accept a role, because I think that he could contribute on a team if he puts himself in the right mindset to do so.
It's absolutely true.
This is absolutely shocking, too, just to finish the Adrian Peterson conversation up. Only 2 seasons have been removed from him being the leading rusher in the league.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Just like that. And he's almost an afterthought. So
it's weird.
Man.
It shows you just how fast running back situations can change. It's amazing.
That's how fast the NFL changes. Doesn't it feel like a lifetime ago that Adrian Peterson was on the Vikings?
We all know the guy's part machine, part horse. Like, it's not like he's out of shape and old.
Right.
It's just his style of play. Where can it fit in at? That's crazy to me. But you guys are right. But that's all I've got for the week. I just wanted to say shout out to my new band that I'm going to be in down in El Paso. If you're in El Paso or the border of New Mexico area for Texas and El Paso, I'm in a Metallica tribute band called Disposal Inc. And we're going to start playing shows here in about the next month. And we're going to play the Black Album in its entirety. And I'm super pumped to be playing music again. And if you guys know, I'm a pretty big country and blues fan. And I'm still going to love country and blues. But rock is where my heart was as a young kid. And it's always been there. And it's exciting to get back into it. So I'll be promoting that a little bit more in the coming weeks.
Very nice. Very nice. Mr. West, do you have something you'd like to promote?
I was just funny. I was talking to Bill in the chat. I was like, "Do you want Adrian in Green Bay?" He's like, "Now, no." Thought that's pretty funny. If he's like 5 years ago, yes, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Yeah, no. If you guys want to check any of my stuff out, it's down in the YouTube link on the video below. You can check out my shit down there.
Awesome. I am going to promote everything I got. So check out Purple View Podcast right here. We are on all the social channels, all that kind of stuff. The Viking Age is where I do a lot of my writing. We're having a record year over there with readers checking in more than ever, which is really great. You can download the app for the Viking Age as well as Undead Walking, which you can visit to check out so much news on The Walking Dead. And with the return of Season 8, the mid-season premiere happening on Sunday, there is just so much to talk about right now. And to be spoiler-free, it's a crazy time to be a fan of zombies. We also got a new issue of The Walking Dead comic book coming out before the next show. So if you're a fan of The Walking Dead comics, shows, games, whatever, hit us up on Undead Walking and download the app, go to the website, all that kind of stuff. Finally, I do want to highly recommend that all of you go to iTunes and leave us some sort of hopefully positive review. Let them know that we are a podcast that gets listened to, so we show up a little bit higher on the search results for Minnesota Vikings instead of down under someone who records a show in their basement and hasn't done a show in 4 months or so. So please help us get a little bit higher on that scale. Otherwise, you can check us out on iTunes, PodOMatic, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Spreaker, so many other places. Of course, you can check us out on YouTube as well, where we are here live. And if you hit the little bell next to us out here on YouTube, you can get notifications for when we go live. Highly recommend you subscribe, share it with your friends, all that kind of stuff. I recommend that every week, and you guys always do it. So thank you very much. And on a closing note, I do want to thank you guys for tuning in every week. It means a lot that you join us in the chat and hang out and share your love for the Vikings and football. It's great to be able to spend that time with people, and it helps make the off season go by a lot faster for everyone, I think. On that note, I do want to once again thank everyone for stopping in and joining us. And stay classy, Minnesota.